Welcome to Ice Cream You Scream. I'm Catherine.
I'm Gina.
And today we are here with the co-producers of the Windy City Paranormal Festival, Christina and Franky, and our first ever guests. So welcome, Christina and Franky. We're very, very happy to have you here.
We're happy to be here, and we feel very honored to be the first ever guests.
Yes. We feel very excited and only a little bit nervous. So,
well, this is the second podcast that Christina and I have been on, so we're old hats. We'll walk you through it. It'll be fine.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
We appreciate that. Thank you. I'm immediately calm now.
Thank you so much. So I think we are all having, if I'm not mistaken, a bit of a boozy ice cream treat today. So I would love to hear what you guys are having. I've heard that there is some dreaded Malort in the mix.
Dreaded?
Dreaded to me.
I'm actually having two. They're both booze affogatos. This is Ginny's chocolate and a Thrush and Winnow bourbon on top of it. So that's my local neighborhood distillery. And then this is also Ginny's. It's lemon bar ice cream and Malort. And it's very delicious.
God.
I love Jenny's.
Jenny's and Malort.
Jenny's is amazing.
Ooh, I love Jenny's.
That's awful. No, it's delicious.
I'm trying to reconcile mixing Jenny's with Malort, and I respect you and your decisions, but my brain's like struggling with it.
It's, the citrus really helps because I feel like Malort is like biting into a grapefruit. Everyone thinks it's, not everyone, lots of people think it's disgusting. Oh, it tastes like, hatred or whatever. But like, I feel like it's literally just biting into a grapefruit. So the creamy and the lemon really works for me.
Would you mind, actually, we have quite a good percentage of our listeners are from overseas and also not Chicago. Would you mind just giving a quick overview of what Malort is and why some of us are horrified by it?
Malort is a liqueur made of 100% wormwood. So it's bitter. Can we swear on that? We can swear, right?
Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah.
It's bitter as fuck. It is. And for years, it's a very Chicago thing. And for years, it was like almost like a prank. You'd have a friend and you'd be like, oh, you have to try this. It's, it's a very Chicago thing and it's disgusting. In fact, I had some friends up from New Orleans years ago and they were in a band called the Swamp Donkeys. They were playing at a bar. I set them up with this whole thing. And in the middle of their set, they were like, oh, we need a shot of Jameson. No. You're in Chicago. I got you. So I gave them all shots of Malort and they hated me for like 2 months. They were like, what the fuck did you do to us? But now it's having a moment. Like it was covered in the New Yorker and it's like bars all across the country are serving it and it's working its way into cocktails and it's like a whole thing.
Somehow I'm based in the UK. I do somehow have a bottle of Malort in my house. And so when you in your email said you were going to be having some, I did consider it and ultimately decided that on camera was not the time to try it for the first time.
Well, you've been talking about poison. So it's like, it's
true.
like a poison straight from Chicago.
That is true. Oh, gosh. Maybe I should.
Oh, man. We're going to have to go back now. We're going to have to do a bonus episode now.
Where I try
wild.
Malort.
I've never heard anyone talk about it in defense of the flavor. The only defense I've ever heard of it is the fun pranks you can play. Because I lived in Chicago for a few years, and my welcome gift for many select people, not everyone, some people would hate me forever, but yeah, I'm very familiar with the pranking. I've never had it in a way that even attempted to make it taste good. So my brain is like, you're broadening our horizons here. We might need to go back and try.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'd recommend it. Two quick Malort stories that I love. Like years ago, they ran a Facebook thing where it's like, tell us what our marketing slogan is going to be and whatever the winner was, they would use it for one full day. They'd answer the phones with it and the whole thing. And the winner was Malort. These pants won't shit themselves. And the other great one was there's two billboards on top of, it used to be Geno's East, but I don't know what it is anymore, at like Diversity and Lincoln, I think. And like the history of these two billboards is some company would buy one, and then some other company would respond with the other one. And there was I think it was like Moet champagne or whatever. It was just like 2 glasses of champagne, and it said, she's having twins. That was their whole ad. Malort bought the one next door and did the same thing and said they're joined at the head.
Wow.
That's marketing.
That really does paint the picture. I like, honestly, for, like you said, for all of our non-local people, that really is the best way to describe the history of Malort, I would say. So what about you, Christina?
Yeah.
You're not drinking Malort, are you?
I am not drinking Malort.
Okay.
No. I have a pink squirrel. So a little ice cream drink. Yes. And I'm actually based in Wisconsin. So here we have supper clubs, and a traditional thing to do is to have your dinner and then enjoy an ice cream drink at the bar afterwards. So I thought I would do something in honor of that and bring in, the Wisconsin representation of the Midwest here. So
hell yeah. I do have to say, both of your cocktails, the presentation is stunning. I just poured a bunch of stuff into a bowl.
I feel very self-conscious. Gina and I are like, oh God, I don't want to share mine now.
Well, I mean, I'm a Libra, so I gotta like...
Same!
Absolutely.
Now I really can't share mine.
Capricorn's so perfectionist,
Yes.
Yeah.
Gina's our resident Scorpio, so.
Nice.
What are you drinking, Gina? Show us what you're drinking.
It's so ugly. I'm sorry. It's just a bowl with vanilla ice cream and Kahlua in it, because you inspired me with the affogato email that you sent. So it's very delicious, I have to say.
Solid.
I'm enjoying it.
That's solid.
Yeah.
Mine is, I mixed some raspberry gelato with some gin, and it's in a glass with a comically large straw because so this is my presentation, my contribution to beauty per my Libra ways.
I love the oversized straw. That's amazing.
I was mixing it together and I was like, I need to have a straw. This is very much a straw drink. It tastes like, or it drinks like a milkshake. I was like, I need a straw. So on my way up here, I real quick grabbed one. And I was like, there's really no going back. I honestly have no choice but to use this. So we're just gonna, I have to like keep it. I keep hitting my face with it. So we're gonna see how this goes.
No, I want to get you one of those straws that is like the swirly straw, but it has your name. So like your full name.
Fun. Yes, it would truly fit on here probably.
And you have a long name too.
I do. It would still fit, I'm sure. I'm convinced.
Cool. So, I mean, between Ice Cream, and Windy City Parafest, I feel like, been following each other on social media pretty much since our inception. But just for all of our listeners at home, would you guys mind sharing a little bit about yourselves?
Sure. The festival was something that I never really intended to do. A couple of years ago, the shortest version of the story is my life was falling apart. It was just a whole range of stuff in a tower year. And I've known Christina for going on like 15 plus years at this point, and just needed some like guidance and all that. And one of the things that she said was, why don't you join my ghost hunting team? It's all women. And I was like, cool. That's right up my alley. And I was just doing it for fun and for friends and for, just like trying new things. And we started to go to conferences and around, I mean, they had been going for years, but I joined them and I realized that like the demographic at a lot of these things weren't what I was used to in the burlesque world, which is where I come from. And I'm used to like my queerdos and my people of color and my sex positive, folks. And like, this was all just a bunch of, not all, but there were a lot of like shiny white, frankly, MAGA dudes in that world. And I was like, wait, you believe in ghosts, but not pronouns? So Christina was basically like, if you see the hole, you got to fill it. So we decided to do a festival that like, that's the whole point, is to seek out underrepresented voices and give them a place to all get together and just have a great time. It's not a con, it's a fest, because we're going to have just a ton of fun. I mean, we're going to talk about spooky and strange things, but the whole point is just to like be a family, and we're so excited about it. It's really gotten some great responses so far.
Yeah, well, I know we are so excited about it. Catherine has been talking about it since before we ever actually connected. She was telling me how excited she was for it.
Yeah, I was definitely secretly and quietly fangirling over this festival long before you reached out to us. Not to immediately out myself as a fangirl, but I think that is something that, even just the concept of an all-female ghost group is something that is so hard to find, and something that I've lived in Milwaukee the last 5 years, and I every now and then will Google female only like paranormal investigation group, because I'm like, now does one exist? Like, I don't know, like, because that's still so rare. But that is something that, like, I love the kind of journey that you just took us through, because we think that is so important. And I think the whole concept of all of these spaces and there are a lot of faces missing, and that is one of the biggest things that kind of resonated with us when we first saw the Paranormal Fest. We were like, oh my gosh, this is like everything that we wish existed. So we think it's great. We're very, very excited.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the things that I think is so great, we saw it on your website, is that there's such a varied lineup too. There are gallery readings, investigations, there's an art show. There are so many different ways for people to connect with paranormal storytelling, which I find incredible. Can you guys talk to us a little bit more about that? What was the journey like, kind of assembling the crew for this fest?
I'll jump in. I think really as a team, because while we are here with you, there are two more members of the production team, Kimberly and Denise, and we really just sat down and tried to come together with what we would have loved to see or we would love to attend. And we also really listened to those who we felt were being underrepresented in the scene, and just what they were looking for as well, because we've been to some amazing conferences, but sometimes it feels like you're just sitting and being lectured to. And our favorite part is hanging out afterwards, usually in the bar or sharing stories with people. And so we knew that we wanted storytelling for our inspiration this year, and we really carried that through. But then we also just sat down and started sending each other messages, having meetings, and talking about people that were interesting to us, people that we had never seen in person, but we knew that they really kept us engaged on social media, or people who were suggested to us even once people kind of overheard that we were interested in this. And now we're to the point where Franky is getting messages from performers who are asking to be involved. And we're really struggling with it because we would love to have everyone involved this year that is interested, but I think we're starting to have to look at next year's list. So hopefully there will already be a next year. We're crossing our fingers, but it was really just inspired by us wanting to kind of shake things up a little bit. Obviously, our paranormal team name, abbreviated, shook things up. We walked into a con. At that point, it was the four of us women who were on that team as a core to start with, and we walked in with t-shirts. And maybe we're not, perceived too well at first. But that was kind of the point. It was always in the back of my mind that it was a name that I held on to. And it was because I felt that it was overrepresented by masculine, and there weren't a lot of spaces for myself as a woman.
For the listeners, the name of the group is Twats.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I don't think we've said
we
it yet.
introduced.
We were burying the lead. Don't worry, I would have asked.
Yeah.
And that is what the Wisconsin Apparition Trekking Society. Did I?
Correct.
Okay. Yep. I'm just focused on Twats. So yeah, I love it.
We have our formal name and then our not so formal name. Yeah.
It's a business and then for afterwards at the bar.
It's like the mullet of paranormal names.
I love that.
I hope to all the gods that
great.
is in your bio. We're the mullet of the paranormal world.
Yeah.
That's great.
But it's party in the front, a different kind of party in the back.
Yeah.
But it's all party.
Yeah, it's all party.
All parties. Daytime party, nighttime party.
Yeah, 100%.
After party in the back or something.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that. And I'm so excited to hear that there's been so much interest in the fest that you're already having to look at next year. Like, I feel like that really showcases the appetite for this kind of thing, which is thrilling. Like, I think the sense of community that you guys have created is really palpable and it comes through in everything that you do. So just, I don't know, I'm fangirling now, but round of applause because it just sounds great. I'm so happy.
We're okay with it.
Thank you. Yeah.
No, it's cool. It's like there are people that I reached out to when we first started that I never got responses from. And I get it. It's a new thing. It's like an untested deal. And then now I'm learning that some of those people have asked others, oh my God, I got to get on this thing. And I'm like, I emailed you 6 months ago. But I love that. I love that it's the word of mouth that's getting around. And we haven't even done one yet. We were, I was listening to the WooPod 4th anniversary thing last week, and they were talking about this, they're like, this is what our ultimate gathering would be like. And everything that they named is this festival, like nothing before noon. It's really more social. It's got lots of different faces. It's like, yes. So we're very excited.
That's awesome. So
I'm fangirling out now.
We can all fangirl together. It's okay. A little bird told me that you have a very special announcement about Windy City Parafest. Might I inquire what it is?
Yes, we've been keeping this under wraps, and when this podcast comes out, we will be releasing live stream tickets, which has been something we've been asked about, but we've been keeping it a secret. And so you'll be able to see most of the programming, with the exception of like the cemetery tour, live streamed during the fest. And if you use the code SCREAM, SCREAM, you'll get $5 off of that, which will make it a $40 ticket for the weekend.
That means
Do you see both of us like trying to contain? We're trying so hard to contain our excitement right now. Trying to keep it professional in the front, but we're partying in the back right now. 100%. We are the mullets of your paranormal festival right now.
I mean, obviously, we'd love to see people in real life, like really that community and that like being able to hug each other is our goal. But we've just learned that like so many people want to be at this thing that can't make the trip for whatever reason. And I totally get that. So we don't want to, keep them from being able to.
Yeah, I mean, look,
awesome.
This is a huge endeavor. So of course, like Franky said, we want to see you in person, and people in, physical presence is really important to the success of this. But it was one of those questions that just kept coming up. And honestly, when we first started with the conception, it was one of the things that was really important to us, because we know that not everyone is able-bodied and able to get there. Not everyone can fly from overseas. Not everyone wants to come to the United States right now. So it's pretty important that we can offer that to everyone in one way or another, because we do really want to create that sense of community. And before we did this, we were just a group of friends who went out and just investigated together and had a good time. And it felt like we were just having a party every time we got together. And it still does when we get to do that. But we really have found that obviously we feel like there's a bigger purpose, and we hope that we're not the only ones that do this. We hope that it snowballs and that kind of takes off, and we see other teams putting things together and creating this environment as well. So
That's so exciting. So
That's
the
awesome.
live stream tickets, are they going to be available in the same place as the in-person tickets on your website?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So, and that's windycityparafest.com, I think?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Okay. Listeners.
And remember, a portion of all the tickets goes to greaterthanhate.org. It's something that's been very close to my heart for years. It's a collaboration of lots of different not-for-profits that cover everything from LGBTQ issues to women's bodily autonomy rights to environmental racism. It's a great group of people.
That's awesome. I know that was one of the things when, because this podcast is so new, we're still kind of figuring out what community we're part of and, you know, where we want to be and who we want to be and all of those things. When you first, you know, started talking to us about it, we were like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting, but we want to make sure that we never work with anyone that doesn't match our own personal values and what we believe in. So as soon as that was the thing that when we saw that on the website, we were like, done, contact these people immediately. Like, we're sold 100%, because that's just another one of those things that I think just gets lost. You know, there's so many people out there that like aren't represented. I know, like, not to kind of reiterate everything you've already said, but I think that is so important, especially in the area. I think the Midwest gets lost a lot of the times. I think, you know, people in the coasts are always like, you know, there's some weird no man's land going on around here. But there are a lot of people who are really, really hungry for that type of thing. I can fully attest to that. It's really, really hard to find these types of things, and they do exist, but, you know, not a lot of people know where to find them. So we were curious why you chose Chicago. Is it just because you're based in Chicago, or was there something specific about the very spooky city of Chicago that you wanted to represent?
I mean, that's where I live.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been producing events here for 2 decades, and, you know, since I was 4. And I moved away for a few years. I went out to the West Coast, and then I ended up in Vegas during the pandemic. And the second I had the opportunity to come home, because I love this city, I love everything about it, warts and all, even the Malort I love. And it was just, it made sense. I mean, I know the venues, I've got existing productions here. But yeah, the more, like, when I was looking at places to do it, obviously it's very cheap if I want to do it out by the airport. Excuse me. But I was like, no, that's not Chicago. I want to be in the city. I want to be walking distance from all the cool stuff. And so, you know, it was a risk because it's definitely a price tag when you do that. But we were able to, you know, like, the hotel gave us a great deal. The venues gave us a great deal. And so it's just going to be super fun. And I get to share my city with you. Some of the places we're investigating are places that I know really well. Like, you know, the schedule can change, but currently one of the investigations is at Club Lucky, which is like, that's my hangout. That's my best friend owns that place. I literally wrote the cocktail book for them. Like, it's such, like, I love sharing my city with people. So that is why we're doing it there.
That's awesome. I love that.
That's the same vibes I get when I'm in Chicago with you, Catherine. It's like she shows me all of these amazing places that I've never heard of before, and it blows my mind every single time.
Yeah. Not to start a fight from anyone listening, but Chicago's the best city in the world. I love it so much. Like, it's just such a great place for this type of thing. It has such a rich history, and, like, it's such a diverse city, and there's so many different types of people and places, and everywhere you go in has such an interesting history. You just have to ask. And that's the other cool thing about Chicago, is I feel like I love that your theme is storytelling, because I think that's like Chicago in and of itself. You walk into any building and someone's got a story that they want to tell you. I think that is so cool. I'm literally just thinking of Chicago now.
I know, me too.
I love it. I'm sorry.
Thinking about
Chicago. Like, gazing.
I'm thinking about the hot dogs.
Yeah, I started. Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. I started to put together like this interactive map for the guests of the fest. That's going to be like, here's the hotel, here's parking, here's, you know, coffee shops you can hit, and that kind of thing. Just like a sort of like a utilitarian thing. And I was like, well, if I'm doing that, I might as well put a couple of spooky places on it. And now it's got like 64 haunted stories, true crime, UFO, Mothman sightings. You can turn on a thing that's got every restaurant featured in The Bear because I'm a foodie too.
that's
So
fun.
it's like it's turned into this whole thing.
Oh, I love that. That's so fun.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
That's awesome.
The last time I was in Chicago, I took my boyfriend to I think it's Mr. Beef. It's the place where they film The Bear, I
Yeah.
think. Blew his mind.
Yeah.
He was like, I've never had a wetter sandwich in my life, but in a British accent.
So one of the places we're investigating is next door. It's at a speakeasy called the Drifter, and the place has been there since I want to say 19 or 20.
Yeah.
And it's been operating that whole time, even through Prohibition. And so now it's one of the places that I work. I book all their talent and stuff. It's this tiny little 38-seat place. So haunted. It's so haunted.
Catherine, I feel like I saw you make a face. Have I been? Did you take me there?
I was gonna say I've been there many times. I think you've been there. Yeah, they're the ones like you kind of go underground. It's underneath. What is it? What restaurant is that?
The Green Door Tavern.
That was the place with a tarot card menu.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
I loved that place. Yeah. Wow, I didn't know it was haunted.
Great.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. I gotta go back.
This was early. I will say this was early in Gina's and my friendship. I don't know. I don't think we had fully fallen down the ghost rabbit hole with each other yet. When I took you there. that was we were testing the waters and you passed.
We talked about star signs and we knew that tarot cards existed as friends, and then that's where we were at that time.
Yes. It was early in our journey. Yeah, that's awesome. That's very cool. I want to back up a little bit and talk more about your kind of individual histories. We kind of did a real quick background on Gina's and my ghostly history with each other, but we wanted to know individually, how each of you got into the paranormal and how you met and came together, and basically your journey to how we got to where we are now.
Sure, I can jump in. So I've always been interested in the paranormal, though I don't know that it was necessarily phrased that way for myself. As a child, I just had multiple experiences in the home that we lived in and also in my grandparents' home. And from there, I think it just took off. I'm not exactly sure where I can put a little pin in it in the history of my life, but my family having what they called their intuition and their own abilities, and just having that exposure to spirit in our home just led me to find anything I could in the library, talk with my friends about it, tell scary stories. And then years later, when I met my best friend, I think we just always shared that interest as well. But as adults, we found ourselves, Kimberly and I have been friends since we were 12, and we found ourselves getting together, going to lunch, getting together, going shopping. And we were like, we really need something different to do. So we would go to the theater. Sometimes we'd go see a movie. And we found an opportunity to apply to be on a very large paranormal team. And we applied as a pair. It was either take us both or don't take us at all. And they almost didn't, because I was very open about my abilities. So I said I was not interested in pursuing that on investigation. I just wanted to come and learn how to use the equipment, investigate, be a part of the team. They did a lot of fundraising. I thought that was great. And they were not interested in having me because I was open that I was, essentially a psychic, and they didn't want that associated with the team. They already had someone on the team who felt that that was their place. And then at the last minute, they invited us to do an investigation with them, and we all hit it off, and we ended up on the team. So we were on that team for quite a few years. And we, over time, found that that team didn't align with us, but we had become close with one of the founders, and she also felt like it was pulling away with just her personal sense of ethics. And so that is initially how we came together as twats. another friend of ours had joined and that's Denise as well. And so us four ladies broke off. We started our own team. That wasn't our intention when we broke off. We left because of those ethical reasons. And a couple weeks later, we're like, hey, let's start a team. So we did. And that's when we invited Franky. I've known Franky, my gosh, Franky, like what, 15 years?
Yeah.
At least. We met through the burlesque world. My husband is an artist, and he had done a lot of artwork for Franky's business as well. And so that's how we got to know one another. And then in some changes in Franky's life, we just started talking, and I think he jokingly called me his spiritual advisor at one point, and I told him that if he ever calls me that again, we're going to have to have a real talk.
Call you that all the time.
Oh, don't.
It's one of two things I call you.
No, you can call me that. I'll be your witch. I'll be.
No, that's not the other one.
No, I know what you call me. So sweet, so flattering. But
You love it.
I do. It's true. So for those who want to know, because I really prided myself in not swearing, but yeah, Franky likes to call me a choice word that kind of aligns with like, I'll see you next Tuesday, sort of a thing.
Okay.
And actually, the first time he did it, he did really quietly, and we were in a big group, and I was like, did you just call me a cunt? Really loud. And he was just, I mean, the look on his face was kind of, and I'm like, that is so sweet. You say the sweetest things to me. So, yeah. So
Let's give it some context. It wasn't like in anger. It was like you were being cunty. You were serving.
Totally.
You were serving for real, like
100%.
on a platter. Like,
yes. Like, yeah. There was a dance beforehand. It was,
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's incredible.
I love the immediate context. Like, hold on just 1 second.
Yeah, I'm aware of how I move through the world, so I need to make sure that people understand it was consensual.
Yes, completely. I mean, that is our sense of humor. So, yes, for sure. But no more spiritual advisor. Yeah. So we just got close through his experience with that. And honestly, I invited him along to come investigating with us because I was just like, we were talking all the time and he just needed something different to do. And honestly, when he came along, it was such a good fit. It was immediately like, this is just the way the team is supposed to be. So yeah.
He's been a twat forever.
It's forever. Totally.
That's awesome. I love that.
That's lovely.
Yeah, that sums it up nicely. I mean, for me, like, I was into all this stuff as a kid, but then, like, you know, as you grow up, supposedly, and whatever, and, you know, being in relationships that weren't open to this kind of thing, or, you know, I Libra'd out and, you know, kind of lost myself. So, yeah, when I was at that stage in life of like, what the hell are you? Like, you know, who are you? I went back to things I liked when I was a kid. And I'm like, oh my God, ghosts and UFOs and Bigfoot and all that stuff. And realized that like that through line has been there. I mean, I've had experiences. I had ghost experiences my whole life. And it's been there. I just haven't like done it for the sake of play or like in community and that kind of thing. So that's the bonus that I have in my life right now, is having such great friends that are like supportive as friends, and we do all that stuff together, but then also we can go, is there anyone here that wants to speak to us? And that's also fantastic. Like, I love it.
Yeah. Have there been any kind of experiences, I guess paranormal experiences, that you've had together that really have stuck with you and that you revisit in your mind often?
Yeah, we've had pretty much every time we go on an investigation, there's some sort of amazing thing that happens, and it's rarely like spooky scary, because that's not really our approach to it. The approach is like, you know, not like kicking down a door and going, you know, where are the demons, kind of a thing. And I think that, you know, energies respond differently when you approach them differently. And so we've had some really, really interesting things, but we did have one that was kind of most recent, where the team they had already investigated this spot like a year prior, and I tell everybody I'm not super into the gear, the ghost boxes and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's all fine, but that's not really like my favorite stuff. So my spiritual advisor has been telling me for months that she thinks that I'm I channel as well, and I've been kind of avoiding it because of the can of worms I think it's going to open. But at this particular spot, we were in the basement, and Christina kind of put me in this area. Was like, just close your eyes and tell me what you see. And so I did, and I described this scene, and the other three ladies were like, "Oh my God, that's like exactly like totally coincides with things that we felt and saw last year." But it's not stuff that is in the lore of this space. So it's not like I read the folder or looked on the website or whatever and like had these images. It was stuff that like totally was not from what other people typically experience there. And so that really sticks with me because I don't understand. It's just one of those things that like I love to get into this stuff and I love to like really delve into the theories and all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I have no idea, and it's just bonkers that we can have these experiences.
I have a question. This might out me as a complete noob to the paranormal world because I think in many ways I am. Yeah. So Catherine is my resident psychic and spiritual advisor. That's what our relationship is. So when you're
true.
It literally is true.
I'm like I will say, not to interrupt, but like Gina has been fighting a smile the last like 20 minutes because our stories are all very similar.
Really
I love
similar,
that.
yeah.
So
I love
that's
it.
I know you probably aren't picking up on it, but I know what her face does, and I know that's what's been going through her head this whole time because we are such a parallel. It's spooky.
See, I love that
Not
though.
to out you.
I love when the universe kind of brings that story together where you're all of a sudden like, us too. That's exactly, I think it's so neat with that aligns. So
for sure.
Completely agree. Yeah. I need a Libra energy to balance me out. Definitely.
Libra's got to leave.
Seriously.
Yes.
And my partner is a Capricorn, ironically. So you represent my favorite signs in this room.
There we go.
Now. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But my question is, so when you had that experience, I've always been curious about this, but I've never been sure how to phrase the question. Where are you in your body when that happens? Is there something physical that you go through? Like, can you walk me through what that's like?
Well, I'm not sure that I know, to be honest, because to me it was just like a thought that was playing in my head. I mean, I'm a writer, I'm a storyteller, so to me it was just like I had to get past going, I'm just making this up. Like this is an image in my head that I'm just telling myself a story, and just go, I'm just gonna tell you what I see. So to me, it's very similar to when I'm writing. It's just like I see a picture, it's evolving, and it's telling me things. Like a lot of times when I write, I don't feel like I'm creating. I feel like I'm listening, or just writing down what I see. So it's a very similar thing, and maybe that's maybe I've channeled like the whole time. I have no idea.
So is there an element of trusting yourself within that?
For me, yeah. I mean, Christina's been saying this for a while, and I'm like, but I do see all these things, and when we're doing like, different types of like investigating, I'm like, I see images or whatever. But to me, it's the same thing of when I'm laying in bed at 4 a.m. and I'm having intrusive thoughts or whatever. So how much of it is what, and is all of it real? Is none of it real? Like, yeah, there's a lot of trust in there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess it's a journey that you go on your whole life, don't you? Christina, I'd be interested to hear your perspective on this. Where are you at when you are doing these investigations?
I think for me, when I go into an investigation, I try not to know anything about the location. Obviously, the location that Franky is referring to, I had been there once before. So oftentimes we'll talk about the history of the location afterwards, and other members of our team will have done research before we go in, but they know not to share it with me. So when I'm in a state of seeing, I guess I'm still in my mind, but just as Franky described, I too see things just almost as a daydream, as a floating thought that flows through, and just really learning to open up to it and trusting what you're seeing, trusting what's happening, trusting the visuals that you're being given, but also you have to learn to interpret the visuals that you're given. So sometimes I'm given things that might not mean anything to someone else. It's an imagery of my past or situations, and it's a feeling. And in the training that I did to, really work and ongoing, it's a life experience, right? So just really learning to trust your intuition. And in my head, though, I would say that physically I'm just in my mind. I do get a occasional physical sensations. So I know sometimes when I'm really tapped in that I actually have like shivers that I physically feel along my rib cage. So at those points, I know usually that I'm in energy, oftentimes of another magic performer, someone who is spiritually using energy in a different way. Sometimes if I am present with someone who's doing Reiki, I'll feel the same thing. So even if they're not actually practicing at the time.
Okay. Thanks for the
Yeah.
heads up, because if I randomly got shivers on my ribs, I think I would freak out. So if I ever go on an investigation, I'll keep an eye out for it.
Yeah.
Another thing I'm
Check for the
wondering.
shivers.
Yeah, check for the shivers. Another thing I'm wondering is, and you guys might not label yourselves for your abilities, but do you? I know there's words like psychic, medium, seer that get thrown around. Do you ascribe to any of those labels? And if you do, why that label specifically?
I'm a witch and a seer. That's how I reference myself. The seer is just because I have so many different experiences and different abilities. So I feel like saying I'm a psychic medium, to me, oftentimes that gives me the imagery of someone who is just communicating with human spirit on the other side, or sometimes animal. But I feel like my ability and the way that I've tried to grow in it goes beyond that. So I have done channeling, just as and I think that's why I sense that in Frankie. And so those are I guess that's why I've always chosen that. I feel like for a brief time when I used psychic medium, instantly I had people being like, "Can you talk to my dead grandma?" And that's not necessarily how I work. Sometimes I'm picking up on things that are more physical. Sometimes I'm picking up on ailments or things that I see the way that life is unfolding might be in the future. So we have free will, so that can always change. But yeah.
Okay. And Frankie, what's your relationship with, I don't know, paranormal labels? Is that what we would term them? I don't know what they're called. But how do you feel about them?
I'm trying to think of how to phrase it. Yeah.
I know, it's a tricky one.
I don't know.
That's such a good question. I don't know that I have one yet. I mean, I do talk about sort of being a believing skeptic, but I don't know if that's a label. I mean, I'm hesitant to label because, again, there's a responsibility, and I'm not sure. Like, again, I'm not sure the Pandora's box that I will end up naming something is very powerful. I was actually having this conversation with a dear friend this morning. The idea, we were talking about like Adam naming the animals in the Bible. Like the idea that when you name something, you exercise a bit of control over it, but also lose a bit of yourself because of the responsibility that you now have. And we were talking about everything from when you name an addiction. Oh, my addiction is Billy. So now you can have control over Billy, but also like naming the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of America. That's a completely different, dick move. So yeah, naming, well, I don't know. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I would say I'm paracurious.
I love that. I love it.
That's
That is
good.
so
Yeah.
accurate for you. I
That's
love that
so
so
good.
much. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with that one. I'll get it on a
That's
t-shirt.
so great.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we do. No one take that merch.
No.
Mark that down, Gina.
You guys,
TM, trademark.
Gotta merch that one.
right? That's fantastic.
That's awesome. I love that.
Paracurious. That's so good.
Paracurious.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
That'll only be $20. Thank you very much.
I'm like, I wanna use that for me too, but I'm fully like, what's the opposite of skeptic? What's a nice way of saying like will literally believe everything in a fun way?
Gullible.
Yes, gullible.
Yeah.
Although you said, was it last year you set a New Year's resolution to be more skeptical, and you were very successful in that,
Yes.
I would say. You did a great job.
I think I am skeptical in my head, but outwardly I'm like, no man, that was a ghost, like 100%, like
Yeah.
without even But I think when other people talk about, ghosts or whatever we might be talking about, anything kind of in that world, I, on the contrary, am very like, okay, well, did you check this? Like, is there a reason the lights could be flickering? Like, was that plugged in all the way? Like, I think I'm good at holding other people accountable, but when I'm sitting alone on my couch watching a horror movie, I'm like, there's ghosts all over this bitch. Like, I can't like rein my own self in, but I'm like here to help everyone else navigate
I wonder if that's Libra, because I'm the same way. I realized as you were
probably
realized as you were talking, I believe it, but I'm skeptical of people, right?
Yeah,
when they come and
yes.
when they're like, oh, this, I'm like, but really, especially when it comes to people who are so certain. They're like, this is this thing, and this is how you get to this thing, and it's a repeat. Because we don't have the luxury in the paranormal of like science as we've come to understand science with the scientific method, a repeatable thing. And I think that's such like we need to get away from that. And people that like are hammering the certainty, I'm like, no.
Yeah, it's the certainty. I definitely think that like one of the things that I value so much is curiosity and not, kind of ascribing to the thought process of these things have been proven, therefore other things must also be true. I think a lack of evidence is not evidence that it does not exist. I think that that's just room for opportunity to find that evidence. And I also think to your point, one of the reasons I wanted to be outwardly more skeptical is because I think that in order to find that evidence, like you have to be skeptical. Like I don't want to be someone who's just like, oh, the lights flickered, therefore ghosts are real. It's like, well, in order to actually prove that in a way that matters, we have to like strip away all of the other reasons it could have happened. But I definitely, I just think that there are so many question marks, and there are so many question marks that we don't even know about yet, that I'm just open to all of it, and will definitely I'm definitely a it's there until proven otherwise type of thinker, versus like you have to prove this to me that it's real. I'm just like, if you say you saw something or you say you experienced something, even if it sounds ridiculous to me, 100% believe you. Like I believe that you saw and felt that thing. Also acknowledge it could have been something else, but like as far as you are concerned, that is real to you, therefore it's real. That's kind of where I land.
Yeah, for me the evidence is that every society from time immemorial has thought that this exists.
Yeah.
I mean, it's consistent in stories. So on some level, it exists whether we create it or not. I mean, there's nothing. It doesn't exist less because we created it. So, I mean, yeah, that's the evidence for me. Plus, I think we need the question marks. I mean, I hope we never stop having question marks. That would be a boring place to live.
The question marks are great. And also any shared experience where it brings you peace or the state of mind that you feel comfort. I think that, I mean, why have to prove that? So while I too am skeptical and probably mostly of myself, I think that it's wonderful when you can have that shared experience together, especially with our experiences of like being on our team and everything too. If another team comes to us and says, hey, we had this experience at this location, it was incredible, it was amazing. I don't even need to always see their evidence. I just think it's great for them that they had that moment. So
yeah, I've hearing you talk about skepticism, Catherine, it was making me smile a little bit because I do have to say you live in the most haunted house ever.
Really?
I'm starting to think I'm just haunted because everywhere I've ever lived has been haunted. So it's gotten to the point where I'm like, it might just be me. I started a Google Doc last year where I was like, people always ask me because I talk about ghosts. People always ask me for my experiences. So I was like, let me just start a doc. It's so long. I needed to just stop because it got to the point where I was like, well, was that an experience or was I just like dizzy that day? Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? So that's where I get like, it kind of depends on what you consider an experience. But yeah, no, this house though is for sure haunted.
Literally
actually,
right before. Yeah. No, sorry. You go ahead, Christina.
You're in Milwaukee?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do twats need to come investigate?
Yes. Okay. The funny thing about that is literally right before we started recording, I was like, okay, how do we lead this conversation to get Christina into my house?
Well,
done. End of the recording. Here it is.
I'm literally like an hour and 20 minutes away from you. So.
Oh, I know. I definitely have a plot to become both of your best friends.
Okay, cool.
Gina included.
Done.
Gina
I'm glad. Thanks for letting me in. Yeah.
This was all just a big grand scheme for
perfect.
I do
Windy
think that'd
City
be great,
Paranormal
though.
Festival. What's that?
Because we've had suspicions
I think so too.
about these spirits for as long as you have lived in that house. We think we know what the vibes are, but I'm not there, so I don't know.
There's definitely a child. I think it's a little boy. There is a man. I've seen him multiple times. I don't like talking about it because he startles me. He's not mean. He just ends up places where I am, and we both are kind of like energetically like to each other every time we encounter each other. So no shade to him, but I do think he might be like a little bit, he's like crowding my space a little bit. but no, like no one, I don't think anyone's mean. But there's at least one that like gives me an attitude every now and then, which I don't love. So they're the one that I would love for you to come and talk to for me.
Sure. Yeah.
They will not listen to me. But there's definitely a child. It's always one of those, there might be an explanation for it. So I will say I do believe this house is fully haunted though. But I'm trying to be more skeptical. Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you a funny story that I haven't told Christine yet because it happened last night. So, one of the things that I've been doing before I go to bed is I play piano. I have like a digital piano. I'll just put on a playlist of like songs I love and just try and like figure out what the chords are and play with them and stuff. And last night, because I get in my own, like I have headphones on, I have my back to the apartment, like this whole thing, like if something wants to bother me, they totally can. And I got this feeling like, ooh, I'm not alone tonight. This is weird. But I didn't want to turn around. And I was at the end of the playlist. And so Spotify is now just going to start like giving me songs, right? And on the playlist is everything from Prince to like the Beatles to Jesus Jones. Like it's all over the map. So Spotify has no idea what to give me. And the song it served me was George Michael's Faith. And I've been having this experience recently with a person who existed in this world. She was a burlesque dancer in the 30s and 40s who is buried in a cemetery that's a 5-minute walk from my place. And she took her own life in 1956. And she and I have been having a conversation over the past few months. And her name is Faith. Her name is Faith Bacon. And there's no reason that song should have been given to me. But like I felt a presence, and when that song came on, I just started laughing my ass off, and I was like, "Hey, how's it going? Welcome." Because I've always I visit her. Yeah. She doesn't come to me. I was like, "Oh, I guess she found where I live." That's kind of fun.
And she has a sense of humor. We know that.
Oh, we definitely know.
Yeah,
she's
funny. Come through a couple of times when I've been doing charm casting for Franky, and she's really, she's got a good sense of humor.
Yeah,
so I'm not surprised that she found you, because if you think about it, we brought a part of her back to your space at one point in time.
That's right. We did. Yep. Okay. Yeah. That's
So
wild. Yeah. Fun.
What's that story?
We just some dirt from her final resting
Mm.
place I've got in my possession for doing my own magic. But yeah, that's true.
Well, there you go.
Interesting. Yeah,
I love that.
she's always telling me to stop taking myself so seriously, which is interesting to me because she took her own life, right? She obviously had like
Mhm.
a lot of, and I think that's the thing. She's telling me like, I learned this lesson and it wasn't great. So please, take care of yourself.
she's very coy with you. Yeah, completely. Yeah.
Faith sounds like a gem.
She is a
Yeah.
gem.
That's fun. I
Damn.
love that.
Also love that you have a spirit bestie. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I know that we are coming up on an hour, but I cannot let you guys get away without asking, what is the rogue wave theory? What is this? Tell me about this. I've been dying of curiosity.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
It's a baby thing I've been thinking about. Again, like, shortest version of the long story is I started in this deep dive of watching like shipwreck videos and like the Edmund Fitzgerald and all these things, and that got really like nerdy about it. And one thing that they kept coming up is this idea of a rogue wave, this idea that like some of these things were taken down by a wave that a lot of scientists think don't exist. A rogue wave is like in a big, like the ocean or a big lake or whatever, a wave that defies math, is the easiest way that I can explain it. And the thing is, they can't predict them. They can't. It's not a repeatable thing. Every possible piece of the scenario has to be just right in that moment, including the vessel being there. If the vessel's not there, that wave is not going to happen. So that has all kinds of implications for me. And it dawned on me as I was watching all these things that like, I think that's kind of what our paranormal experiences are. Cause I don't personally feel like there's an other side. I think all of this is part of our measurable world in some way. I just don't think we have the ability to measure it yet. And I think that everything has to be correct. And there's no formula. Just, it has to be all the right pieces in that moment, including you being there looking for it. And then you might get an EVP or you might get a light flicker or whatever, because all of the math adds up to something a little bit more than that math, and it comes through, maybe is the way to say it. And like, that's why it's not a repeatable thing, because like everything had to be right and you couldn't have predicted it. Which is one of the reasons why I feel like it's so intangible at times, and why we've yet to get like the evidence of all time, because we're looking for this like scientific method thing of, if it happened, it can happen again. Like, I don't know that it can. It happened then, and that's good enough. It was real. It was your experience. Like, you were there. So it's a baby theory that I'm kind of like bouncing around, and getting really nerdy about.
Yeah. I love that. Sorry, go ahead.
And I think too, it's interesting when you take rogue wave theory and you look at it in an energy sense or sound,
Mhm.
you have multiple small things coming together that essentially build and create this larger wave, right? So more sound, but they have to overlap at the right moment. They have to be constructive. If they're in opposition of one another, they essentially start to cancel one another out. So you can look at that in the paranormal. You can look at that as voices being raised to represent other people. There's a lot of different applications for that concept.
I mean, it's energy. Like, a wave is energy. Mm-hmm. A wave in the water is energy translated by water. Sound waves, light waves, everything is energy. Like, not just waves, everything is energy. And I believe that's what the paranormal is just, it's a dimension of energy that's within ours that we have trouble explaining or detecting or whatever. When my son was younger, I remember telling him once, I was like, hey, I can hear the voices of dead people and I can teach you how. And he was like, what? And so I put on Aladdin, because it was the voice of Robin Williams. And I had to explain this to him, but like, that idea is like, if you told someone 200 years ago, 300 years ago, that you could play a recording of someone who was dead, like it would have been total witchcraft. And now it's just a thing that we do all the time. How many songs do we listen to from people who have passed? That technology is witchcraft 300 years ago. So on some level, like, there's maybe hope that some of these question marks get unquestion marks later. But again, I don't think that kills the mystery for me, because all of this is just more magic and more mystery. Like, being able to go, oh, I heard this thing on a tape recorder. Like, if you can explain it to me, fine. But I also experienced it, and it was cool, and that's all I need.
I don't think this is a baby theory. I think this is a theory with a capital T. I ascribe to this. There's something about this that is, I feel like so immensely comforted right now from what you just described.
What I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's like something like when you said, I can't remember exactly how you phrased it, but it was something about this is all part of our measurable experience. We just can't measure it yet. It was my brain did the thing where it was like, click, that makes sense. And then like, that's just part of my personality now, because that, damn, I'm going to be thinking about that all night.
I always kind of say magic is just science that we haven't scienced yet, right? So that's exactly the way that we try to look at things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just hope that we can get, I hope that we can get away from this. Like, I know the scientific method serves us. It does, but it's not the only type of science. Like, something that happens, even if it happens once and never happens again, that's still real.
That's something we talk about a lot, is just, this acknowledging that there are things out there that have not been discovered yet isn't against any science that exists. It is literally how, like, the things we've learned thus far were found out. It is actually very scientific to be curious about what we've not discovered yet. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, you can, like, I enjoy listening to music. You can just take it at face value. Oh, that's a lovely song. It's giving me these feelings. Or you can get into the science of why it's giving you the feelings, and it doesn't make it less, less cool. I mean, for someone like me, I dig that. I like knowing, but you don't have to, which is different than faith, in my opinion. Faith is, like, in that instance, would be, again, it's just a baby theory, like the belief that the song is going to make me feel good. Like, you don't have to have faith that the song is just making you feel good, but there's science behind it. Sorry, I'm going down another rabbit hole.
Well, no, now I'm thinking about, just because I was thinking about the word faith, and I just think it's so interesting how so many people with kind of a religious upbringing, I feel like, wind up coming to this space and engaging with the paranormal world. I don't have anything else to say about that. I was just thinking about it.
That's something. Yeah, I don't know if we've ever talked about that, Gina. That is something that I always find really interesting, because there are different sects of people who believe in certain things and how they believe in it. And, the ones that I almost am more intrigued by are the ones who aren't part of this world, or will believe in ghosts, or whatever, despite a huge faith in a Holy Ghost. Like, there's something to that, to me, where it's like, there are subgenres of beliefs within different communities, and it's interesting, and I have no opinion on any of it. It's just interesting to me how certain people end up where, and ultimately you do choose to believe in what you are believing in. It's not something that just happens. Like, believing in something and having faith in something is a choice that you make. So it's interesting what people choose to believe in and why, and how they choose to believe it. That's a rabbit hole I'm about to go down. So
I think we need
something that keeps me up at night.
This is the kind of conversation that happens after investigation, and then we start drinking cocktails and we stay up till like 8 a.m. talking about these things, thinking we've solved all of the world's problems. Frankie's usually asleep next to us. Yeah.
Excellent. We'll compare notes and see if we've solved all the same problems.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, this, like we said, we're coming up on time. I don't ever want this conversation to end, so we will actually need you to come back and talk with us again.
Love to.
We would love to.
In the meantime, though, let's bring it back to the festival. Can you just real quick let everyone know like where it is, when it is? We'll obviously share all of the information where people can find you, but just give us a little snippet so that the people who are itching to get there can go right now as they're listening.
Yeah, we still have some tickets left. I mean, it's a very small event. We're only doing 150 seats because we want to keep it like a very social thing. It happens June 12 through 15 in Chicago in the Gold Coast River North neighborhood. We start with a burlesque show on the first night, and then it just goes downhill from there. Adam Berry is doing Paranormal Pictionary, which is going to be so bonkers. Storytelling, live podcasts, like social time. It's going to be super fun. Tickets are available at windycityparafest.com. And if you're listening to this, we will also have launched the live stream tickets. Please come in real life, but if you can't, also join us in spirit.
Amazing. I know we cannot wait for it. So thank you so much for joining us. We have had an absolute blast, and it's been so fun chatting with you both.
Thank you both so much. Yeah.
We're going to be friends for a long time.
Forever.
Hell yes.
Besties
Our plan worked.
Yes.
All right, Catherine, we didn't talk about this beforehand. Do you want to do our normal outro thingy?
Wait,
we should have talked about this ahead of time.
Invite
Oh my gosh.
Invite our friends to do it? Our new best friends? Should we? Okay. Okay, Christina.
Yeah.
You and I will say, keep it cool.
Okay.
And then Gina and Franky will respond with, keep it creepy.
This is going to be difficult since we're all in different areas. Okay, we can try.
I know. I'm like, there's going to be like a delay. All right.
Okay.
Should we count down?
I'm going to say 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
Yeah, 3, 2, 1. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Keep it
cool.
And
keep it creepy. If that's the one you keep, you have to keep all the instructions in there too.
We will. I'm keeping that. I'm not editing that out.